This is TWiT.
So, Apple's new extreme lockdown mode, and extreme is their word, which I thought was kind of fun. In a blog post last Wednesday, Apple took the wraps off of lockdown mode, which will be rolled out later this year. First seen in Mac OS Ventura, iOS 16, and iPad OS 16. This is an optional mode which will, in their words, severely restrict some features. I mean, they've gone to a great degree here. I guess on one hand, it's selling the idea that it is so restrictive, but they're also like making it clear that we're not sure that this is for everybody. So, if you were to turn this on, be prepared for a bunch of stuff not to work. The aim is to protect specifically highly targeted individuals, such as human rights workers and researchers, by reducing their device's available attack surface. So, and they provided in their announcement a screenshot where, this is the screen where you would go to turn this on. And it says, lockdown mode is an extreme optional protection that should only be used if you believe you may be personally targeted by a highly sophisticated cyber attack. Most people are never targeted by attacks of this nature. Then they said, the second paragraph, when iPhone is in lockdown mode, it will not function as it typically does. Apps, websites, and features will be strictly limited for security, and some experiences will be completely unavailable. And then they've got a button to learn more, or this big scary one at the bottom, turn on lockdown mode. So the way Apple put this in their announcement, and they used a term I hadn't seen before, I thought was interesting. They said Apple expands industry-leading commitment to protect users from highly targeted mercenary spyware. They said Apple is previewing a groundbreaking security capability that offers specialized additional protection to users who may be at risk of highly targeted cyber attacks from private companies developing state-sponsored mercenary spyware.
Wow.
Yeah. They said Apple today detailed 2 initiatives to help protect users who may be personally targeted by some of the most sophisticated digital threats, such as those from private companies developing state-sponsored mercenary spyware. Okay, we get the message, Apple. Lockdown mode, the first major capability of its kind, coming this fall with iOS 16, iPad OS 16, and Mac OS Ventura, is an extreme optional protection for the very small number of users who face grave targeted threats to their digital security. Apple also shared details about the $10 million cybersecurity grant it announced last November to support civil society organizations that conduct mercenary spyware threat research and advocacy. In other words, researchers who were going to dig into what this is all about. They said Apple's head of security engineering and architecture was quoted, Apple makes the most secure, blah, 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 mobile devices on the market.
You can always tell when you're reading from an Apple press release. Yeah, blah,
exactly.
blah, blah. Right.
Okay. Lockdown mode, he said, is a groundbreaking capability that reflects our unwavering commitment to protecting users from even the rarest, most sophisticated attacks, which we're unable to block. Okay, he didn't really say that. While the vast majority of users will never be the victims of such highly targeted cyber attacks, we will work tirelessly to protect the small number of users who are. That includes continuing to design defenses specifically for these users, as well as supporting researchers and organizations around the world doing critically important work in exposing mercenary companies that create these digital attacks. Lockdown mode, he said, offers an extreme optional level of security for the very few users. And they really don't want you to turn this on, but they want you to feel very special if you do, because of who they are or what they do. May be personally targeted by some of the most sophisticated digital threats, because after all, otherwise it wouldn't get through the regular iOS security, such as those from, and we're naming names, the NSO Group and other private companies developing state-sponsored mercenary spyware. Turning on lockdown mode in iOS 16 and iPad OS 16 and Mac OS Ventura, you might as well just turn off your device. No, it doesn't say that. Further hardens device defenses and strictly limits certain functionalities, sharply reducing, and I actually believe in this a lot, the attack surface that potentially could be exploited by highly targeted mercenary spyware. Okay, so at launch, lockdown mode includes the following protections. We have 5. Messages. Most message attachment types other than images are blocked. Some features like link previews are disabled because, yes, those could be abused. Web browsing. Certain complex web technologies, bravo Apple, like just-in-time JavaScript compilation. Remember, we saw Microsoft experimenting with disabling that in Edge because it just seems to be where all the problems are. Just-in-time JavaScript compilation are disabled unless the user excludes a trusted site from lockdown mode. Third, Apple services. Incoming invitations and service requests, including FaceTime calls, are blocked if the user has not previously sent the initiator a call or a request. Wired connections with a computer or accessory are blocked when iPhone is locked. And maybe you guys talked about this over on MacBreak. I'll ask you about that in a second, Leo.
Sure.
And finally, configuration profiles cannot be installed, and the device cannot enroll into mobile device management while lockdown mode is turned on. So, to my eye, these all sound like very useful and sane restrictions.
You bet.
They would not hugely impact even most users, I think, while they would very clearly and significantly restrict the device's attack surface. So I say bravo, Apple, nice going. I'm sure that they've closely looked at the history of the way their devices have been compromised and then took steps to address future threats in a way that will keep their devices useful and usable while being far less easily compromised. So again, bravo. So, Leo, that fourth thing, wired connections with a computer or accessory are blocked when iPhone is locked.
This is how I interpreted it, and the panel seemed to agree. That's so that you can charge but not have a data connection with a USB port, right? So it's to prevent you from plugging your iPhone into some strange port, and actually allows you to do so. It's like your USB condom, I think. So, because what happens normally with an iPhone, when you plug in a USB cable to a device, it says, do you trust this device? You say yes, and now you can exchange data, which is obviously risky.
That's very, very
I think
smart.
it's good.
It's a built-in condom.
Yeah,
for your
built-in condom. That's how Apple should sell it, I think. Yeah, a rubber for your phone.
Most of you will not need a built-in condom, but
I had a question about the just-in-time stuff. Didn't we talk about that at one point? That Google's research showed that just-in-time JavaScript was problematic.
Yeah, it was Microsoft that was doing this because now they have Bing, and as we know, Bing is now based on the Chromium engine, and so it was their analysis that showed, I think it was 80% of the problems that they were seeing in JavaScript resulted from tiny flaws in this, like squeezing every last bit of performance out of JavaScript. And what they were saying was, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, computers were still slow. I mean, remember back then we didn't want to use encryption because it slowed down things.
Yeah.
It was too slow. Now it's like, bring on, we're going to go quantum, baby. We're going to do dilithium encryption. So, so anyway, so Microsoft said, hey, just turn this off and you're going to be automatically protected from 80% of the problems that we're having. So Apple is saying the same thing.
And it's not like turning off JavaScript. It's just turning off the JIT compiler or JIT playback. So you frankly maybe would run a little slower, probably not on a modern machine, and it eliminates a lot of those security flaws. So I think that's I agree with you. This didn't seem too onerous. No. Google has their superior security where you have to have 2 Titan keys and all of that. I tried that for a while, and you lose so much functionality from Google that wasn't worth doing it. But I could see turning this on for a normal person.
I'm going to turn it on and see how it feels because, why not? And I'll bet that would be, they're going to have some telemetry. I'll bet it'll be some interesting metrics that they're going to get back about how many people go, I don't need all that crap.
I forgot I turned it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's all the things that people do that are dangerous, like links in messages and the message rendering engines. I also used my Security Now knowledge on MacBreak Weekly about that because we talked about, this is where you see a lot of flaws on Windows as well as on Apple products with this interpreter that has to somehow render this content in messages. And it's often a security issue.
Yep.